So, Vasyl, good afternoon. Can you see and hear us? Good afternoon. Can you hear and see us? Is everything fine with the connection? It seems to me that the candidate cannot hear us. No? You cannot hear us. Please check the connection and the sound with the candidate. Good afternoon, Vasyl. Can you hear and see us now? Yes, good afternoon. So welcome at the second stage of the selection procedure for the High Qualification Commission of Judges at the interview stage. The interview is conducted by all members of the selection commission. Let me briefly introduce its members. These are Yevhen Mezensov, me, Ivan Mishchenko, Stephen Markman, Sergei Verlanov, Datsenko and Robert Brookhuizen. The rapporteurs at your interview are Stephen Markman and Yevhen Mezensov. Vasyl, if for any reason the interview is interrupted as the result of power outage, absence of internet, or because of air alarm and the need to find a shelter, the Commission will reach you and we will continue the interview starting with the place where it was stopped in case this happens. Don't get concerned about that. Please give concise and brief answers to the questions asked by the members to the core of the matter, and the member of the Commission asking the question make to limit the duration of your answer. And before the interview, you will have an opportunity to briefly introduce yourself, tell about your motivation, your ideas, your views, just in brief, within some 3, 4, or 5 minutes, as you wish. So let's start. Colleagues, please, the floor is yours. Stephen, Yevhen.
Our candidate this afternoon is Vasyl Datsenko. Mr. Datsenko has served within the judicial system for approximately 16 or 17 years, and most recently served on the Liudmyla City District Court of the Poltava region, and he's been on that court for nearly 9 years. Would you like to begin an introductory statement for 3 or 4 or 5 minutes? If so, please go ahead.
Thank you for giving the floor to me. First of all, let me express my gratitude to the Commission for giving me this opportunity to participate in this event and to present my candidacy. I'm Vasyl Datsenko. I'm the judge of Liudmyla City District Court, PhD and trainee of the National School of Judges of Ukraine. And at the beginning, let me tell a couple of words about myself. Really, my experience in the judiciary is more than 16 years, and started with the secretary of the court hearing up to the and ended up as a judge. I worked in the appellate and cassation instance in commercial, administrative, civil, and criminal jurisdictions. And complex issues that arose in practical activity actually urged me to do some scientific research. And in that way, while working in the High Administrative Court of Ukraine, I focused on the legal nature of justice, and this became the issue of my PhD. And then I started working in the city district court, and it was with land law that I dealt, and I wrote 5 scientific articles on the topic. In 2017, I was involved in the development of training materials for the National School of Judges of Ukraine. Further on, I participated in the selection of candidates during special training in 2018-2019, and also I was an expert in checking in scoring the practical assignments of our candidates. And my achievements in family law are set out in the manual for judges. I keep working with the National School of Judges as for now as yet. I think that communication activity of court is important. That's why since 2015 I've been judge speaker of my court. I'm also the delegate to the Congress, and I have been participating in the work of the group related to improvement of the procedural legislation. My experience shows that I've dedicated my life to the judiciary. That's why I cannot but be concerned about the turbulence of our judiciary in our system. And I think the situation, it was very strange that the HQCJ was not operating for 3 years. I really felt this because we have 8 judges in our court, but only 2 were incumbent judges who could actually perform their functions. And we were trying to have some petitions to involve judges from other courts in the work of our court, but that didn't work. And of course, I think that the HQCJ, if it starts its operation, will have a positive impact on the judiciary. I think that we can achieve quick results, but really we need to have people who are well aware of the process, selection process. On the other hand, operation of the HQCJ will help us solve the problem of distrust in the society, because we should clearly recognize that some of the decisions of different judicial authorities have actually led to decrease in the trust in the judiciary. But the HQCJ's role is to revive this trust. First of all, they need to fill the vacancies of judges with men of integrity. As far as the prospects of development and the prospects of work of the HQCJ, I wouldn't like to speak in general statements. I would like to actually refer to statistical data, and I prepared the presentation with some technical data. If it's expedient, I would actually show it. If not, then not. Please let me know this.
Thank you very much, Judge. Let me ask a couple questions, if you don't mind. You just raised a concern a few moments ago, and I'll share it with you. But in your motivation, you indicated that you thought the High Qualifications Commission should quickly conduct transparent, competitive procedures for filling vacant positions. I certainly agree with the idea of transparency. I think that's very important. I also agree with the proposition that it should be done as quickly as possible, which is not exactly what you say. You say quickly. How quickly, and how do we balance the need for urgency, a sense of urgency and expedition, with the sense of thoroughness? These individuals may well end up sitting on the court for lengthy periods of time, perhaps their entire lives, and to do so quickly strikes me as something we should be very careful about. What do you think?
Well, that's actually what I would like to start talking about. I think that we can really reach quick results. Why? Because if we think about the core problems in the judiciary now, these are staff shortage, And let's focus on this major problem. So the issue of staff shortage is the issue for several years. I mean that we cannot really fill out all the vacancies very quickly. Along with that, I think that we should set some priorities for ourselves. Priorities in terms of what we should do already tomorrow. And with this in view, we need to take into account some statistical data, which has been announced several days ago. And if we have a look at the data, all in all, we lack 28% of judges, but the situation is the worst in appellate courts and trial courts. In appellate courts, they lack 50% of judges, and even worse, the situation is in the criminal chamber. So we should determine what the courts with the worst situation now are, and we should have a competition for the number of vacancies that, at the first stage, that will allow us to fill in those vacancies. And then we should get back to the vacancies left, but in some time. Also, I think that we should do the same with trial courts. The situation there is that, I could continue, but I could develop my idea, but please stop me if it's enough. Shall I continue?
Please complete your thought at least.
So, in a similar way, we should work with trial courts. Why? Some of our candidates think that before the end of this optimization process, we should not select judges because we don't know what the number of vacancies and positions is going to be. But I think that this is the wrong approach. We should work now, not wait till the end of the war. I think that not all judges will agree after the optimization to change their places of living. And I think that this optimization will lead to kind of brain drain. I just know some people who wouldn't agree to that, so that will really lead to brain drain. And I think that while we are still having this optimization process going on, we could take the conservative approach to selection of judges of trial courts. We could calculate the approximate indicative number of vacancies we need to fill, and following this conservative approach, we should start selecting candidates. We wouldn't need a lot of time because we have this reserve of 300 people, and the selection will be for 367, and we do have the reserve to actually have this selection process to trial courts. So thank you for the question. And by the way, I could also explain as far as some things as far as quality is concerned.
Well, let me interrupt you for a second, because that's what I'd really like to hear about. If there's any mission to what the Selection Commission is attempting to do, I'd say it's to elevate the quality of the judiciary as much as to expedite the filling of the judiciary. Obviously, both of those missions are important, but thus far, at least until I interrupted you, I hadn't heard anything about the quality. Please tell me what you think about that.
Well, I've got one idea concerning quality. It seems to me, but this refers more to trial courts, let them not be offended. You know, it's a bit strange that the Public Integrity Council does not work with trial courts. It works only with high instances. It seems to me that the selection procedure should also involve this organization for trial courts, because this would improve quality of selection.
Can you explain to me what you mean in your motivation when you say that it is representatives of the courts of first and appellate instance who should take an active part in the competition for the vacant position of a member of the HQCJ who best understand the problem? What are you suggesting? Are you suggesting that legal academics and lawyers don't have a role in that position, in that determination? Or maybe I'm misunderstanding what you're saying.
No, it's a little bit different. What I meant was that the situation is the worst in, I mean, the best people to know the problems related to staff shortage are the people from trial courts, because this is the problem they are majorly facing now. It seems to me that the shortage in Supreme Courts is 9%, and in the anti-corruption court it is 3%, sorry, but with trial courts is the highest percentage. We know what the situation with staff shortage is, and since really the process should be quick, with knowledge of the local situation, that's why I think that we should involve appellate and trial court representatives, first of all.
And no other entity, is that correct?
No.
No, I'm not trying to be difficult. I just don't understand what you're saying. Who should be involved in that process?
No, I meant concerning the Court of Judges. I don't mean only these people, but they should be definitely present there.
You say in the next sentence in the motivation that we should restore confidence in the judiciary. Not to be difficult again, but restore confidence to what era in particular?
First of all, let me mention that we have to recognize that the problem exists. I don't think that all judges of Ukraine not people of integrity, but some decisions of judges have really led to reduced level of trust. And revival of trust or restoration of trust is not going to be a quick process. We cannot do everything very quickly, just with one step, one action. This is a gradual path. And this path has to involve not just the HQCJ, but other state institutions. But the HQCJ within its jurisdiction should provide for a transparent selection process to fill the vacancies. I could give you, as an example, some selections, because today I saw one of the interviews, and we all agreed that the competitions to the Supreme Court and the High Anti-Corruption Court were transparent, and as a result of that, the society trusts these institutions more because of the transparency of the selection process. So it is in that way that, step by step, gradually, the HQCJ should be performing this task.
Mr. Datsenko, you've provided information to the Commission explaining the value of a car that's owned by you, a Ford Edge car. You state that you bought the car in the United States. Could you please explain the source of funds for the purchase of 2 cars by your mother-in-law, that Ford Edge in 2021 and earlier a BMW 525 in 2014? What was the source of funding for those 2 cars, please?
Thank you for the question. So BMW really belongs to my mother-in-law, right? It's not. You have mentioned my car and the car of my mother-in-law. Right.
Yeah, I think it said. I think I acknowledged it was your mother-in-law's car. But she purchased your car as well, did she not? She purchased her own car and she purchased your car.
No, it was a little bit different. Let me explain. I have looked through the materials of the case, and I actually understand what the essence of this question is. But if we speak about my car, I purchased it for my judicial remuneration. I bought it at the auction in the US. 10,000 and something dollars, and it was brought to Ukraine, but due to military aggression, I have not yet received this car. The total amount of acquisition with delivery costs, repair, maintenance costs, taxes will amount approximately to $25,000. As far as my mother-in-law's car is concerned,
Stop for 1 second. Maybe I have incorrect information, and I want to clarify that. I had thought that the declaration was that your car was purchased by your mother-in-law, and your mother-in-law's car was also purchased by your mother-in-law. That's not accurate. Okay, well, please explain.
Let me tell the story then. Our financial relationship with my mother-in-law are related only to the fact that when I was investing into some real estate in Kyiv, I borrowed some money from her, but that was not related to the car at all. That was related to the acquisition of the real property. I borrowed $35,000 from her, and the source of income of that money of her is concerned. So I've got the purchase-sale agreement of 2020, under which she bought on the 7th of September, and I borrowed this money in December that very year. So she bought her house for $38,000, and I borrowed 2 months later $35,000 from her to buy my apartment. But that was not related to the car.
But you borrowed $35,000 or $38,000 from your mother-in-law to assist in the purchase of a house? Okay.
Yes, that was the case.
And what was the source of those funds? It came from your mother-in-law, but my understanding is, according to, let me just interrupt you for 1 second. According to information, I thought that you also provided to the commission the income of your mother-in-law for the 24-year period beginning in 1998 and ending in 2022 was a total of less than 9,000 hryvnias. Am I incorrect on that?
No, you've got it right. The information is correct. Maybe let me explain it once again. My mother-in-law inherited from her father a house, property, real estate. And on the 7th of September 2020, she sold out that house, and the amount of sales was $38,000. And then 2 months later, I borrowed from her $35,000. And I've got this agreement, purchase-sale agreement, and I would like to give it to the commission for you to see the data.
Do you think, are we lacking that document right now?
This issue was not raised, but I have this agreement, so I will send it to you right after the interview.
Okay.
Sorry, Steven. Can I clarify
Please,
this matter,
go on.
please? Вибачте.
So sorry for that. Vasyl, so let's try and clarify, since this is one of the tricky points, and the things that are a little bit strange in relation to you. When we studied the data of the National Anti-Corruption Bureau, we found that the difference between the income of your mother-in-law in the amount of 8,000 and something hryvnias over the last 24 years, according to the tax administration's data, and concerning this 38 or $35,000. Do you have an agreement that you borrowed the money? Yes, I have the document. Okay, it's pointless to show it to the screen. Yeah, I was just trying to show it to you. So you've got a receipt, a document that you borrowed the money. Concerning availability of this money with your mother-in-law, you mentioned that she bought it, she sold the house for $38,000 because she sold the house she had inherited from her father. So you claim that this happened in September 2020. And under what document was the sales held? Was it the sales and trade purchase of the registered property? Yes, it is purchase-sale agreement. It is a registered agreement. And what about the value? Is it $38,000 indicated there? Or $38,000? So this means that this is a real cost that was given to her. But the notary, as the tax agent, should have submitted to the state tax inspection the information about the agreement. Because the question is that the tax administration doesn't have any information about this agreement. And while providing to the Commission the information about the overall income of your mother-in-law, and saying that her overall income is less than 9,000 hryvnias over the recent 24 years, they didn't have information about this sort of income for her to be able to borrow money, to lend money to you. So could you really provide the certified document that would testify to the fact that she performed some commitments and registered this agreement? Yes, sure, I can. Please, the Commission would wait for those documents because we haven't been able to clarify why this has happened. Good, I will do this right after the interview.
Oh, thank you so much.
Okay, now let's clear about Ford Edge. This is also the issue that draws the attention of the Commission and of the public. Ford Edge is 1 year old, 15,000 miles, and most probably, if it is in the fit condition, it cannot have the value of $10,000 because this is the crossover and the cost should be higher. We have checked it. We have checked the data of the Copart auction, and we've got the data of this financial rate, of their number of miles, and we have even got the pictures. It's like dark blue, high completion, some damages in the front to the side. What about the current status of this car, and where is it? Well, the car has already been brought to Ukraine. It was supposed to be brought early, but because of the military aggression, it somehow went to Istanbul and then it came back to Ukraine. So it was a long trip. Yes, it went from the US and failed to come to Ukraine first. It got back to Poland, and that's why the car has not yet been transferred to me. It is like at the final stage of repair. And I expect that in about a week or two, I will take it. Is it under repairs in Poland? No. It's already in Ukraine. I've already paid taxes for it. I've declared the car, and it is in Ukraine, but it is under repairs. Well, normally the car is declared when it is registered by the state at that moment. And when I checked the VIN code in the police database, we found that it is not registered. And you have already reflected it in the declaration. Is it right? When I was declaring it, I was following the guidelines of the National Agency for Corruption Prevention. The point is that it is a firm that is responsible for the delivery of the car. It is the firm with which I have got an agreement. I have, by the way, attached the agreement to my materials. So I just pay the money and they take those steps. Yeah, I understand this perfectly well. So we bought this car. It's really available in the territory of Ukraine. And I registered it right away, following all the instructions at the cost, at the value of its acquisition at the Copart auction. And then I also declared the taxes, which I paid by all the other components, like delivery, repairs, until they exceed this amount. I have not. So you declare taxes because they exceeded 50 taxable minimum incomes. Yes. Okay, clear. Then let's go forward to another issue, which is not that pleasant as well, but we are here to clarify all the things that are related to your property condition, Vasyl. So, as far as the use of the apartment in Lubny by you is concerned, could you explain us? This is important for us and for the public. We've got some explanations, but we would like to hear this person from you. Who is Artem Onufriy, or the person who is the owner of this apartment, and what are the grounds on which you are using this apartment on a free of charge basis? Thank you for this question. Let me give you an extended answer for you to understand what it's about. When I was appointed the judge of the Lubny court, I came to Lubny and I quickly came to realize that it would be difficult for me to commute from Kyiv to Lubny, so I started looking for the apartment. And, well, that is a typical problem of small towns, that there is no wide market of apartments to be rented. So I addressed some of my colleagues for a piece of advice. I addressed some people from the court, and one of our staff members addressed me and said that she could give me her son's apartment. The son lived in Poltava, but he had the apartment in Lubny with no repairs. But the suggestion was that I could do some repairs in the apartment and be using this apartment. So I actually agreed. Yes, it's clear, but the question is whether your words about the repairs are true. I mean, did you really keep some checks or some documents related to the acquisition of the materials for repairs, maybe some receipts for work performance? No, unfortunately, I have not kept them. I could show probably some checks for the technical equipment which I bought. Yes, but you mentioned that through repairs you have actually paid for the fact of using this apartment, so it would be good if that was supported by documents, but so far you don't have documents like this. No. Clear, and here is the last issue from the same series, related to acquisition by your father, who is a retired judge and who used to work in one of the courts of Vinnytsia region up till some period of time. So in 2019, he bought an apartment in Kyiv, 47 square meters. The value was $41,000. I mean, the equivalent of this amount. Could you please tell us whether you were somehow involved in the financing of this acquisition, or was it all done with his own money? It was his own money. Well, I have given some, yes, you have provided some certificates, but the question is just whether you were involved in that or not. No, I was not involved in that, and you don't have anything to do, any property rights, ownership rights to this apartment. No, I don't. Thank you. That's all for me. Stephen?
I'm done.
Okay. Judge Tymoshenko?
Okay, thank you. Пане Василь, повернемось
Vasyl, let's get back from some earthly categories of property to some high substances of the law. What do you think the standard, what standard of proof is the most relevant when we are assessing candidates in terms of their integrity, and why? Well, you actually use the standard of proof in the methodology. It's well prescribed there, and I consider that it's fully acceptable. For the citation not to look like, well, when the candidate doesn't have integrity for alien observers. No, I mean that beyond, is it beyond reasonable doubt? Yes, I meant beyond reasonable doubt. Okay, clear. It seems to me that this criterion is acceptable and it's rather well prescribed in the methodology.
Скажіть, будь ласка, останнім часом досить популярною
You know, recently the idea has gained popularity that the HQCJ should gradually join the High Council of Justice. What is your personal attitude to this? Well, thank you for this question. Let me probably start with the different point. I think that the HQCJ has a lot of tasks now. First of all, to get the staff to make the assessment. But let's ask the question, what happens in about 4 years when the HQCJ performs this mandate? I think that there will rise the issue whether it's really important to generally maintain the HQCJ if per year it has to select, I don't know, 100, 150 judges. So I think that what will happen then will be either it will be provided with some new duties for it to preserve its institutional attractiveness, or it will join the High Council of Justice. And by the way, this is also written in the strategy of the development of the judiciary. And I think that this selection is very attractive because if we follow the first scenario, this could probably be the last cadence of the last term of office of the HQCJ. My treatment of this is fine because, you know, this dualism we now have, like disciplinary bodies, selection body. Well, I'm not sure that we should really duplicate our channels. So probably it would even be better in the future to have one government body. Clear, your standpoint is clear, thank you. I think that if members of the High Council of Justice are watching us, they will come to like your answer. Here is another question. What digital technologies, or as we often say, what kind of digitalization should be used in the work of the HQCJ, if any? Well, it generally seems to me that the issue of assessment and selection should be optimized considerably. Let me give the example of assessment. I don't think that we should spend so much time on every single candidate for which we don't have any important negative information. So I think that we could probably do it in a different way. Using digital technologies, we could probably have a different procedure. Like we could have a table for each candidate, including the concerns which we have in his relation. And if there are no significant concerns, his assessment could go quicker without, let's say, the interview. So introducing these novelties, we could somehow accelerate the procedure and selection for trial courts, at least. Thank you for your answer.
Can I ask?
Please. Я передав слово. Так, Стівен, please.
Let me ask you just one more question, if I might, Judge Datsenko. I notice you're only 38 years old and you have 17 years of experience in the judiciary already. That's pretty impressive. Can you give me a sense, what was your big break? I mean, how have you done all this in such a short period of time?
Well, thank you for the question. I'm 38 right now. And in fact, I think that I've really selected this judicial path. But I think that the judicial path really opens up a lot of opportunities. It's not just being a judge. You can also be writing researches, scientific articles. You can participate in the judicial self-governments. You can participate in selections, for example, to the HQCJ. I don't think it's difficult. In fact, each of us has a lot of time, and it's all about time management.
Can I suggest maybe you owe a debt, as most of us do, to your parents? Your father was a judge too, right? Okay. Robert, do you have any questions?
Well, definitely I was following the example of my father. Shall I give the answer? Yes?
If that's the truth, sure.
Please go ahead.
I just wanted to confirm your words that, my father really had a great impact on me, on my future career, on my self-organization, but it was also due to the mother, who is the teacher. So they kind of taught me to do this time management and taught me a lot of things.
What years did your father serve on the bench? Do you recall?
Yes, I remember he retired in 2015, and it was about 20 years of his judicial experience, starting with 1995.
Okay, thank you for the background.
Yes, Mr. Datsenko. I just found on the internet that Lubny is a city with quite some industrial activity. It's a place where quite some investment is there. There are all kinds of commercial activity. That's correct, huh? Let's say that you're not, but just
Well, actually, it's correct.
yeah. Let's assume that you're the president of the court in Lubny. You're not, but just assume that you are. Let's assume that with one of the judges in the court, there's a integrity issue. In the local newspaper, there are large articles about this judge, about his assets, about his cars, I don't know what, but it's alleged that he has done something terrible or taken money from a billionaire or something. And it's completely explained in the press how bad it is. You are the president of the court. What would you do?
Well, thank you for the question. Well, first of all, such information cannot be left unnoticed. We should respond to it. And if this information is really grounded and verified, of course, we should pay attention and draw the attention of the respective bodies that are supposed to respond to this. The respective bodies that have been already created in Ukraine.
Okay.
If I got your question right.
You're the court president, huh? You're boss of the court. So is what you would do inform the bodies? Is that all what you would do?
Well, in fact, the president of the court doesn't have that many powers to have some influence on the judge. But of course, this could become the subject of our discussion at the Congress, at the meeting of the judges. We could probably express our joint opinion on that point. But unfortunately, or luckily, the president of the court doesn't have exact influence on the judge.
So you, as the president of the court, would inform other bodies, you would not do anything?
I think that within our court we would have a meeting, we would try to verify the information, and if the judge provided proper explanations on that point and showed really that this is unverified, untrue information, we would leave it for the consideration of the bodies that have the discretion to consider it. But if this is some information which is more important, I think that the meeting of judges should explain their standpoint in the situation to care about the reputation of our court, first of all.
I read, if I'm not mistaken, that in Lubny is quite some activity in the car industry. Is that correct?
Well, let me not focus on some specific issues related to Lubny.
No, but just an example. I will continue with my example. At the same moment that this is in the newspaper, there's a American car company, let's say Ford, and they have the idea to start producing Ford's, what was the brand name again?
Edge.
Ford's Edges in Liudmyla. They want to invest 1 billion euros to build a car company in Liudmyla. And there have been discussions with the mayor of Liudmyla. There has been people visiting the city. They have found a land plot to build it on. And then they read the paper. And they read in the paper that in the judiciary there is a judge that possibly is corrupt. And that when the press asked the court president what he would do about it, he said, nothing. I will inform the Congress of Judges. What do you think will happen with the investment of the American company?
Thank you.
Well, it's obvious that Ukraine is interested in being appealing for the investors. We need investment. And in this respect, Liudmyla will require investment as well as the entire Ukraine does. We understand that transparent courts that are being fair and just, and if the investors understand that they will get a fair and just decision, they will be eager to invest. And if they don't have this understanding, if they believe that there's corruption here, they will not be investing because it will be wasting of their money. That is why I said that we need to have this Congress or meeting of judges, and should any of those allegations be confirmed, then we need to separate ourselves, distance ourselves from such a judge and transfer this information to competent authorities so that they can take some action. But of course, maybe we could even approach mass media. We can give a comment to mass media and respond in some way. I understand that the reputation of the court should not suffer because of the actions of one single judge. Thank you.
But listening to your own answer, you have understood, let's say, the case I put in front of you. Wouldn't you be afraid that this would be extremely harmful for this potential investment, that you would just walk away? Because you say a lot, but there is no solution put forward. Informing others does not provide a solution. And maybe it's not possible that there's no solution available by law, but maybe you have some other thoughts how to solve this.
Thank you for this follow-up question. You were right. Right now, it's not within the mandate of the court president or the court to find a solution. So if I act within my mandate, I cannot do anything. We can only maybe talk about this through the media and somehow convince this investor that everything will be fine, that we are reliable, that this case has already been transferred to competent authorities.
I can tell you how we do this in the Netherlands, which is very simple. The first thing that would happen is that the court president would say to the judge, it's better that you go home for the time being and do not appear in court anymore. You cannot continue to provide justice to people when your own honesty is at stake. So go home. You're not allowed to appear in the court, and you have to stay away until this has been sorted out. And secondly, what will happen is that the court will immediately start their own internal investigation about those allegations to see what is right and what is wrong, what is proven, what is not proven, and try to assemble information. And third, of course, they will go to the prosecution office when it is very serious. What we say, and we're only a small country, of course, that we cannot have that anyone thinks that in a court in the Netherlands there are judges who are corrupt. We just don't want to have it. So action, yes, is taken immediately.
It's a great example. Internal control is a great mechanism. Unfortunately, it's not foreseen in our legislation. And if the court president told the judge to go home, he would just disobey.
Okay. To you, Ted.
Judge Datsenko, I was interested in your discussion very early on in this interview, which probably seems to you to have gone on a long time. In your priorities for the work of the HQCJ, if you are appointed a member of the court, and you suggested that the priority in your mind, in your view, would be for the filling of the vacancies in the trial courts. Now, other of the candidates have also commented on that issue, and one, for example, indicated that the priority should be the qualification exercise to complete that. There are some 2,000 judges awaiting qualification. They're not, therefore, able to dispense justice. They have already been appointed judges. So the idea there is that that would be the quickest, fastest way to get judges back into the courts. What do you think about that suggestion?
So with regards to the qualification assessment, well, I've already explained about the trial court judges. As far as the qualification assessment is concerned, we do have to complete the qualification assessment. But if we are talking about priorities, 2,000 judges, that's a great workload, and we need quick results that we will be able to show tomorrow. In my opinion, of course, we need to work with those 300-something candidates that are not administering justice because they don't have the mandate. So these would be the judges that could start working right away, right tomorrow. And after that, I would proceed to completion of qualification assessment of those that you've mentioned. Maybe we could even simplify the qualification assessment. I've completed qualification assessment, and my interview consisted in very general questions. So maybe if there's no negative opinion about the candidate from PIC, maybe we could just simplify the procedure, make it shorter. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's an interesting analysis. And I want to move on now to your role as a judge speaker. And can you share with us what you think you have learned and what that role and responsibility can contribute to your work on the High Qualification Commission if you are chosen?
Thank you for this question. Well, the most important things that I have learned is that a problem is communicated in time if we explain what is happening to the people. If there is nothing unresolved, then it does help the operation of the court. The judges see that everything is under control, and everybody sees that the court is working. In my opinion, one of the principles that the HQCJ should follow in its work is transparent communication, open competitions. In my subjective opinion, will be the foundation of trust in the work of HQCJ on the part of the people. Thank you.
Judge Zarzeczny, can I ask one question?
Yes, certainly.
Judge Datsenko, in response to Judge Zarzeczny a few moments ago, you said that you would be open to the idea of not even interviewing a candidate during the qualification assessment. Can you explain your thinking on that further? I said, could you please explain your thinking on that further? Can you hear me?
Я чую, я не зрозумів. Ну, добре. Я вважаю, що знову ж таки.
Well, yes, now I get your question. Let's discuss the previous HQCJ and the results that they were able to achieve. Well, my position is that the HQCJ did a good job. We have two examples of how open competitions restore trust in the institutions that are later formed by HQCJ. And if we look at the ratings, well, I don't think that they are always reliable, but still people say that they trust the High Anti-Corruption Court more than they trust other courts, simply because of the transparent procedures of selection, and that's why we have this result. Yes, so I do support this openness and transparency of the process. Thank you.
I don't think he understood your question, Stephen.
Maybe you could repeat it.
Yeah, let me repeat my question, Judge, if I might. I'm a little concerned about your emphasis upon quickness. At the same time, you say building trust will take a long time, but nonetheless, you emphasize quickness. And as part of that quickness, it seems as if you call for a more general assessment and possibly even an assessment that doesn't involve interviews at all. And I guess, as I've said, I am concerned with the emphasis upon expedition, and I just haven't seemed to hear much emphasis of an equivalent sort upon quality. How do you aim to achieve quality when you don't even have an assessment?
Дякую, я зрозумів запитання.
Thank you. I have now understood your question. Thank you.
Моя відповідь така.
My answer is as follows.
Ми повинні визначити ту категорію при оцінюванні.
While doing the assessment, we need to specify the category of judges with respect to whom we have negative information, and we need to have very scrupulous assessment of these judges. So this is about the negative opinions of PIC, and we need to work with these candidates. They should be the priorities. So the first category of people that will be assessed are judges without the mandate and judges with a negative opinion of PIC. If we don't have any significant negative information with respect to some candidates, do we really need to have the interview stage? Or maybe we could have some written kind of test so that we can save some time of the commission. It's just a suggestion. I'm not insisting on this, but I would see this as a way out so that we could speed up some of the processes and use the remaining time for other procedures, for instance, for selecting judges for appellate courts. Thank you.
I'm interested, and I hope you can answer this briefly, Judge Datsenko. You indicated that, in your opinion, the transparency of the selection process undertaken by the High Qualification Commission with respect to its recommendations for appointment to the High Anti-Corruption Court and the Supreme Court of Ukraine, that transparency contributed a great deal to apparent increased public trust in those two courts. Now, what that the High Anti-Corruption Court did, do you regard to have contributed to that transparency?
Дякую за запитання. Я мав на увазі
Thank you for the question. What I meant was the selection of judges for the High Anti-Corruption Court was transparent.
суспільство дали їм
And the society, while we are having different surveys, in those surveys and rankings, the High Anti-Corruption Court holds a rather high place because the selection procedure for the judges of this court was transparent. And the Anti-Corruption Court in its activities, well, if I can assess the activities of my colleagues, these are bold people who are hearing notorious cases, high-profile cases.
ну це дійсно важка робота.
I think it's a really hard job that they are doing, and they are confident, and the results that they are
Excuse me,
showing.
I'm going to interrupt you, Judge Datsenko, because I think I probably miscommunicated my question to you. What did the High Qualification Commission do that you say contributed to the transparency of its process with respect to these two courts? It's not enough to say what they did was transparent. I'm asking you, what procedures, what process do you feel contributed to the conclusion that their process was more transparent?
Якщо можна, я надам ще відповідь.
If I may, I will expand on my previous answer. So the previous HQCJ, the procedures, the assessment, and the selection procedures that they used
Широко я маю на увазі,
were quite extensive.
перевіряють
What I mean is that there is special inspection, special review, there's an interview stage. Everybody, every citizen of Ukraine can watch this interview, can see how the judge behaves themselves, how they're answering the questions. And the materials that the HQCJ has on each candidate are quite extensive. And even the previous HQCJ had enough information for a profound analysis of each of the candidates. And this open and transparent procedure could not have been not liked by the public.
All right, thank you for your answer. I will turn over the questioning then to my colleague, Judge Verlanov.
Дякую, пан Тед. Пане Василю,
Thank you, Tad.
доповідач, суддя Маркман, нам доповів про те, що
The rapporteur, during your interview, Judge Markman, told us that you have over 17 years of experience
маєте стаж уже
working in the judiciary, and you've been a judge for more than 8 years. And I have this question for you.
ви під час спочатку своєї професійної діяльності
Since the very beginning of your career,
4-го року
starting from the year 2004,
даний досвід вашої роботи
how do you believe,
свідчить він про те, що ви
does your work experience
можете принести користь саме на посаді судді, члена Вищої кваліфікаційної комісії? Воно таке незручне питання, але
help you to be of value for the HQCJ? How relevant can it be? What can you contribute to the work of HQCJ? Thank you for this question.
так, я вважаю, що
Yes, I do believe that my experience is valuable.
в сенсі Він цікавий тим, що
It may be of interest
в системі дійсно я знаю,
because
ну, я пройшов
I know all the ins and outs of the judiciary.
досить
I've been through all the levels.
так складалося життя, що я переходив в кожну спеціалізацію.
So I've been through the different specializations. I worked for a commercial court, then administrative court, then criminal court.
Тобто володію всіма спеціалізаціями.
So I'm knowledgeable about the different fields of law.
Дуже, але ну, мені подобається не просто
I really like not just doing my job, but
проводити її корисно і
I also want to be useful.
коли переходив адміністративно,
That is why when I was working in administrative justice,
була нова.
it was something new for me. I transferred there from a commercial court. I didn't really understand what the principles were, but I learned about those principles. I even prepared my PhD. Then I started working in a trial court, and I also made some kind of contribution for myself because I've learned a lot of new things. I have the experience of being a researcher, and I also worked at the National School of Judges, where I was directly participating in the selection, and I have my vision there. And let me clarify about the National School of Judges. Who are you, the National School of Judges? So I was cooperating with them. Were you a trainer? Yes, I was a trainer. Or were you running the assessment? What were you doing there? So I was invited to be a trainer. We were developing some teaching materials. So what kind of materials were you developing? I was developing materials on family law and administrative law. Materials on family and administrative law.
Ви проводили оцінювання? Я так зрозумів,
Were you participating in the assessment? Were you working with candidate judges or incumbent judges? Candidate judges. Were you participating in the assessment after you've developed the tasks and assignments? Were you assessing the candidate judges? Yes, I was involved as an expert. I was checking practical assignments in family, and it seems to me commercial law. When was that? Between 2018 and 2019. And when you were participating in the assessment, what were the results in your opinion? Were they high? Were they low? Based on your experience of checking their assignments. So you were checking the assignments in administrative law and civil law, right? I was checking the practical assignments at the School of Judges. We were using the methodology of HQCJ. So we were checking the practical assignments. Yes, that's clear now. Thank you. So in your opinion, what was the level demonstrated by the candidates? Thank you. I really liked our candidates, both assistant judges and those who were not assistant judges. And for how long have they studied at the National School of Judges? For 3 months by that time. Thank you, that's clear. Could you please tell us, have you ever worked at collegial bodies throughout your career? Yes, I was part of collegial bodies when we were hearing criminal cases. I was working with juries. That's clear. So, my next question will be a little bit different. Could you please tell us about any international practices of judge selection that you're familiar with? No, unfortunately, I cannot answer this question. And what is the topic of your PhD thesis? Organizational and legal principles of judicial control over public administration in Ukraine. Thank you. Thank you. I have no more questions for you. Stephen?
Judge Vashenko, do you have any further questions?
No, I don't. Чи є є ще запитання, колеги?
Does anybody else have any questions?
З вашого дозволу, пане Василю,
If I may, Vasyl, I have some questions for you.
питання спочатку особистого характеру.
So I will start with a more personal question. It has to do with your wife and your mother-in-law between 2015 and 2018. According to the data of the state border guard, your wife and your mother-in-law have crossed the border with the Republic of Belarus. They traveled by train. Could you please tell us about the purpose of those trips? So that's my question, the purpose of those trips. Thank you for this question.
Сестра моєї дружини сімейним обставинам
The sister of my wife moved to St. Petersburg, and in 2017, my wife and then my mother-in-law, it happened in 2015 and 2018, they took the Chisinau-St. Petersburg train. So they were crossing the border with Belarus for this very reason. Did they stay there for a long time? Around a week, a couple of days.
дружини, я за те, що
So I'm talking about my wife, I don't know about my mother-in-law.
Враховуючи ваш характер роботи,
Could you please tell us, in view of your position as a judge, have you ever felt
правоохоронних органів
that anybody has been pressuring you on the part of law enforcement of the Republic of Belarus and Russia? No.
теоретичного питання.
Okay, let's proceed to a theoretical question. Please don't be surprised, this is quite a provocative question, but at the same time, it's part of the curriculum from the National School of Judges. It's going to be an interesting question.
Припустімо, ви є
So suppose you are a member of HQCJ,
наприклад, співбесіда на кшталт
and you are holding an interview like this one today. So you are seeing a candidate in front of you who, according to your inner conviction, meets the criteria of integrity, who is professional, open. So this person meets all of the requirements.
достатньо екзотичному вигляді.
So this person has an exotic appearance. Let's say they are having some kind of hat on their head, some turban or wrapper around their head. So when you're asking him about this turban, he says that this is part of their religion, this is part of their identity, this is part of their clothing.
Вимоги Конституції
In view of the requirements of the Constitution, which tells us that we cannot discriminate based on the color of skin, sex, educational background, age, etc., etc., including religion,
чи примустимим ви вважаєте
can you please tell us,
носіння подібного
do you consider it appropriate to wear
для судді і для кандидата?
this kind of turban for a candidate judge or a judge? Should they wear it constantly?
ну, дійсно провокативне.
Well, indeed, this is a provocative question.
Частина питання,
This is just the first half of the question, which is easy.
Ну, в принципі, я взагалі дуже особисто я до всіх людей
Well,
Ну, ваше бачення цієї ситуації.
Просто ваше
яке?
бачення, просто ваше
Так.
особисте
Як
бачення.
ви вважаєте?
Тут немає
this is about your opinion only. There is no wrong or right answer here. We just want to hear your view. I think he can wear the turban. Okay, let's make it more complicated then.
Ці дані всі ті самі, тільки
So,
людина
The
сповідає
situation is similar. So it's a person who is not a Hindu, but he is having a different religion, and he is wearing a kind of a strainer or colander on their head. So
дозволяєте сидіти перед вами в виконаному друшляку.
I will answer it in the same way. So you are going to allow this person to sit in front of you with a colander on their head. Yeah, so this is some kind of religion that's been registered on the territory of Europe. And according to this religion, you can wear a colander while you're being photographed for your passport and driver's license. If it's indeed a kind of religion, Pastafarianism, then
Дякую.
Then okay.
мене все.
Yes, I understand your answer. Thank you.
Немає більше питань?
Do we have any other questions?
Тоді, закінчивши з
If
пастирям,
there are none, and we are done with the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster or Pastafarianism,
пане Василю, будь ласка, надаємо вам можливість, можливо, сказати те, що ви не
Vasyl,
сказали.
we are giving you the floor to say the concluding remarks. Should you like to add anything? Is there anything of importance that you would like to tell the Commission towards the end of your interview? I would only like to thank the Commission for this opportunity to be present here today. I would like to congratulate everyone on today's holiday, and I want to wish good luck to the next candidates. And I wish the best of luck to the Commission. Thank you.
Дякуємо, пане Василь.
Thank you, Vasyl.
На цьому співбесіда завершена.
This is the end of your interview. We are wishing you all the best. Take care. Goodbye.